now we have with us Professor and Dr. Anil Rao Pila. Yeah, did I pronounce that right, sir?
Yes, you're
yes.
right.
So he is the Dean for V School, Lanka Education. Yes, so would you like to introduce a little?
Yeah, sure. I am Dr. Anil Rao Pila. I am a chartered accountant by profession. I did my PhD in information systems, and I am the Dean of a business school called Lanka Institute of Management. Lanka Institute of Management is one of the top rated institution, number 10 in India at the recent February 2015 Times Business School rating.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, and we have a campus in Bombay, which is our flagship campus. Dr. Uday Salunke is the group director of this campus. Yeah, that's about me. I worked with Mahindra & Mahindra for 7 years, and before that I worked with Arvind Mills for almost 5 years, and before taking up an assignment of this education institute.
Really excited to have you with us, sir. So our topic in discussion is actually more onto sustainability, and within sustainability another concerned area is of course corporate social responsibility, and I believe that is your pet area as well.
That's right.
Would you like to shed some light on
Definitely.
that?
Corporate social responsibility is an area where each and every corporate in India is been mandated to get into this activities in their companies. It's been a legislation now, and if you see 2014 when the legislation came in India, there was a lot of confusion in the air saying that how will this be implemented by the government of India, and truly so in the year 2014-15 corporates have to actually mandatorily spend close to 15,000 crores in India, and we are all waiting to see how that expenditure in what form is going to really happen. So CSR is a big agenda. I think the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, has given a clear mandate how the corporates can get to the community at large, how educational institutions can get to community at large, and I think the CSR is the base to create this particular agenda.
Yeah. So, and also previously, before we actually got onto set, we were talking about NGOs. I found that very interesting because you were saying about only about 86 NGOs are actually registered with the Indian
Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Yeah, Indian Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and you were saying there are actually like hundreds and thousands of NGOs. So, would you like to, you know,
highlight about?
Yeah,
this is a recent revelation to me as well.
Okay.
When I met a few of the employees of the Institute of Industry and Corporate Affairs, run under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. When I was into a training program on CSR, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India trains us on this particular avenue, which is new. And I was the second batch member when the people from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs happened to be there on as a faculty. And surprisingly, they said, you know, when we floated a particular website saying that NGOs can register on this website and they will be available to the corporates to reach out, and because the corporates don't know how to where to get to which NGO, so they had a due diligence done of all the NGOs which had registered. And to a surprise that the first list came out with only 86 companies, 86 NGOs getting into this list, and a way to go in doing the due diligence. What they said is when the NGOs applied, they didn't have an office per se, they are not very professional, and 3 years long standing as an NGO is required. The balance sheets have to be audited and income tax has to be paid or rather disclosed. So these are few conditions, and the revelation came up saying that a lot of NGOs don't have their own offices. They are like individual run NGOs, and they are not a great professional body. But maybe because of a lot of publicity needed to get to the new registrations from NGOs, the days will come when more and more NGOs will be registered.
Definitely. So we were talking about corporate social responsibility and some of the challenges you foresee from a company's point of view. Can you share your thoughts on it?
Yeah, one is the company's legislation which has come on CSR is facing a lot of challenges to corporates. One is as we talk about the NGO selection is being a big problem. Second is the funds are huge. So whenever the spend has to get to the community, identifying the activities at the prima facie level is very important. Yeah. So companies are in a debate as to the big challenge is whether they should get into themselves as expenditure with a registered company of their own, which they are allowed as per law, and the 3-year mandate in that case is not applicable. So if at all the company has its own registered society, they can get to spending through that society from day one. Unlike the NGOs have to have 3-year long standing. So that is one. So registering for that society is one which is a challenge. Rather, if it is registered, what is the way forward to the registered society is a big challenge. So in a very short time of this year of 14-15, 15,000 crores spend, which is likely to be done. So companies have probably written a check, will write a check by 31st of March to the National Relief Fund. Yeah. That is the easiest thing to do, yeah, which is allowed under the Companies Act. So under Schedule 7, there are various activities which have been framed by the Companies Act, and they have to stick to the Schedule 7. And if they don't get to the Schedule 7, then there is a disclosure by the company which needs to be done, saying that we couldn't spend for this year, but we commit to spend the money for the next year, along with the funds which have to be allocated for the profits. Yeah. The best part is the Companies Act clearly mentions the average 3 years profits to be determined, and there are a few clauses. I'm sure Companies Act talks about the clause of 5, the net profit should be 5 crores and above. Right, or there are 3 conditions. Yeah. So most of the small scale industries also fall under this gamut. So for them, getting to, it's a big challenge to spend the money, and that to the community at large. Yeah, but then one important thing which the government has done by putting this act together is sensitizing the corporates that they have to give back to the community in a larger way than what they were doing earlier.
So we've discussed about the challenges faced by most of the Indian corporations, or maybe even if you say NGOs, it wouldn't be incorrect. So what do you think the way forward is? What advice can you give the Indian companies or even the Sri Lankan NGOs per se?
One is the spend being very high, right? There has to be a lot of professionalism getting in. Yeah. One is good industry bodies like Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, or maybe the Chamber of Commerce of Confederation of Indian Industries, or Sri Lankan Industries, as the case may be. If they can actually put together their mind and heart in understanding where this money has to be spent, and if they can integrate that with the national agenda, right, working together with the national agenda, that's the government of India per se, and set forth a clear milestone. And everything cannot happen this next year. Absolutely. It has to be a very well planned agenda. I think if these industry bodies come together, with their professionalism, give the companies and the government a path to develop the community in large. I think that will pave off a good way. For that, the NGOs who are already known as NGOs, if they register and prove their due diligence by giving the best out of what they are doing, by way of activities and disclosing it in their books of accounts, that will give a pave, impetus to ensure that these corporates then work with them to form a good for the society.
Yes, and it's definitely going to be a sustainable strategy in the long run. So with that thought, sir, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and we definitely hope you have a safe flight back, and we definitely hope the viewers at home have a value addition added to them. Thank you very much.